Good morning everyone. Let us continue with the morphology of flowering plants. Till now we have already discussed about the root, the stem and the leaf. Let us take up the flower. Flower is the reproductive unit of angiospermic plants. It is specially meant for the purpose of sexual reproduction. As far as its structure is concerned, it has got four important whorls. And these four whorls are present on the swollen portion which is known as the thalamus. Thalamus is a part of the pedicel. Starting from the outer whorl, the outermost whorl is known as the calyx, then corolla, then androecium and finally the gynoecium. Calyx is made up of numerous sepals. Corolla is made up of petals. Stamens constitute androecium and carpels they result in the formation of gynoecium. Now let us start with calyx. Sepals are mostly green in color and they protect the flower in the bud stage. Petals are beautifully colored and are of various shapes to attract the pollinators. As far as the stamen is concerned, it is made up of two important parts. This slender part is the filament and this upper part is known as the anther. Anther is bilobed and each lobe has got two pollen sacs which are filled with pollen grains. The arrangement of stamens with its own members and with the petals is also different in different types of flowers. Sometimes all the stamens, they are together present in the form of a bunch. That condition is known as the monoadelphous condition, as it is found in case of the China rose. It may form two bundles or it may form more than two bundles. The conditions in those cases are known as diadelphous and polyadelphous condition respectively. And sometimes the size of the stamens is also different. In salvia, for example, in mustard, some of the stamens are long, some of the stamens are short. In some cases, like lily plant, there is no distinction between calyx and corolla. That is known as the perianth. And in lily, the androecium is attached with the perianth and that condition is known as the epiphyllous condition. And when the stamens are attached with the petals, that condition is known as the epipetalous condition. So this was about the androecium. Now let us take up the gynoecium. Gynoecium has got three important parts. The lower one, the swollen part, is known as the ovary. Then this long tubular part which is known as style. And the tip of the style is known as the stigma which receives the pollen grains during pollination. Now, based on the position of the outer three whorls with respect to the gynoecium, flower can be categorized into three types: hypogynous, perigynous and the epigynous flower. In case of the hypogynous flower, as you can observe in this diagram, it is the flower of mustard and China rose. Ovary occupies the highest position and all the three whorls, they are slightly below the ovary. So ovary is said to be superior and flower is said to be hypogynous. In case of rose, plum and the peach flowers, the rim of the thalamus bears the three whorls. That is calyx, corolla and androecium are present on the rim of the thalamus and almost at the same position as that of the ovary. So this type of ovary is said to be half inferior and flower is said to be perigynous. But in case of guava and the sunflower, ovary is inferior. Flower, all the floral whorls are present above it. What happens is that the margin of the thalamus, it completely encloses the ovary. And all the floral whorls, other three floral whorls are present above it. So ovary is inferior and the flower is said to be epigynous. So these were the three types of flowers based on the positions of different whorls. Now let us take up again the calyx. Now calyx, as we have discussed, is made up of numerous sepals. If all the sepals are fused with each other, that condition is known as gamosepalous condition. Similarly, if all the petals are also fused with each other, the condition is known as gamopetalous condition. But if they are not fused, they are free, then the cases are different. Now let us take these 4 examples. The arrangement of sepals with respect to the members of their own whorl. Now if the margins of the sepals are just touching each other without overlapping, that type of aestivation is known as the valvate aestivation. But if sepals or petals, the margins of sepals or petals of one sepal or another petal is overlapping the other, and so on, that is condition is known as the twisted condition. It may be present in sepals, it may be present in petals. This type of twisted condition we observe in China rose. But if there is no particular direction of the arrangement of these, the margins of these sepals or petals, that condition is known as imbricate aestivation, and we found this in case of cassia, gulmohar, etc. In P, a very interesting arrangement of corolla is there. The outer and the larger petals, they overlap the lateral 2 ones, and these 2 lateral ones they further overlap the 2 anterior and the smaller petals. So this type of aestivation is known as vexillary aestivation or papilionaceous corolla, we can call it. So this was about the arrangement of sepals or petals with respect to the members of their own whorl. Now let us take up the gynoecium again. Gynoecium and the ovary. Ovary has got numerous ovules, sometimes one ovule, sometimes more than one ovule, depends upon the flower. Ovules, after fertilization, they become the seed, and ovary, after fertilization, becomes the fruit. This is the fate of ovule and the fate of ovary after fertilization. That we'll discuss later on. But now we'll take up the arrangement of placentas in different types of flowers. What is the placenta? Placenta is a cushion-like flat structure by means of which ovules are attached with the ovary. That is different in different flowers. In case of P, the placenta is ridge-shaped and is present on the ventral suture of the ovary. And all the ovules along with the placenta, they are attached with this ventral suture, that is the ridge-shaped placenta. So this arrangement is known as the marginal placenta and is observed in case of the pea plant. But in case of tomato, the placenta is axial and the ovules are bone on it. The ovary is also divided into chambers. But in case of the mustard or the parietal type of placentation, the placenta is at the periphery and ovules are also attached on the outer walls at the peripheral part. Sometimes a false septum divides the ovary, that is found in case of mustard. Now, in free central type of placentation, the placenta is central, axial, and the ovules are bone on it. There is no segregation of this ovary into chambers. There is no septa present here. In case of basal placentation, which is found in case of sunflower, the placenta is present at the base, and single ovule is bone on it. So this type of arrangement of placenta is known as the basal placenta. So these were all about the placentations. Now one more thing, the floral axis. The arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is known as inflorescence. Now if the main axis continues to grow and the new flowers, they are born on it in an acropetal succession, that type of inflorescence is known as the racemose inflorescence. And if the main axis terminates into a flower and the new flowers, they are born in a basipetal order, that type of inflorescence is known as the cymose inflorescence. One more thing, if we can divide the flower into 2 equal halves but only in a one vertical plane, that type of division of the flower is known as the zygomorphic. Flower is known as zygomorphic, as in case of the pea plant. It can be divided into only two equal halves by means of only one vertical plane. But if the flower can be divided into two equal planes by any of the radial plane, and that type of symmetry is known as the actinomorphic. So actinomorphic flowers we can divide the flower into two halves by any of the radial plane, and asymmetrical flowers are also there which cannot be divided into two equal halves by any of the planes. So this is also there. We have already discussed just now that the fate of the ovary and the fate of the ovules, that after fertilization the ovary develops into the fruit. So fruit is nothing but a ripened ovary. So we have taken the diagram of mango here. Mango fruit is known as the drupe because it is formed from the monocarpellary ovary and superior ovary. So fruits are mostly, they have two important parts: the outer wall of the fruit and the seed. Outer wall of the fruit is known as pericarp, and it is divided into three important parts: epicarp, mesocarp and the endocarp. In case of mango, the epicarp is membranous and the mesocarp is fleshy, edible, and the endocarp is hard and stony, and then the seed is present. Now let us take up the seed now. The outer wall of the seed is known as the seed coat, and it is again made up of two parts. Outermost part is the testa and the inner part is the tegmen. If we study the morphology of a seed, we observe a scar-like structure on the seed which is known as the hilum. Hilum is the point by means of which it was attached with the fruit. And there is a pore which is known as the micropyle. Micropyle is a pore which is present just near to the hilum. So this was these structures we can observe just when we looked at the seed from our naked eye. And when we remove the seed coat, if it is a dicotyledonous seed, we can observe two cotyledons. These are filled with reserve food substances obviously for the developing embryo, and this is the embryonal axis, which is made up of which has got two important parts: plumule and the radicle. Plumule it develops into the future shoot, and radicle develops into the root later on. One more thing, they are very delicate parts, so they are covered with foliar structures. Plumule is covered with coleoptile and radicle is covered with coelorhiza. So they protect the delicate parts, tips of the plumule and the radicle. Now as far as the monocotyledonous seed is concerned, it has got only one cotyledon. But in addition, it has got another reserve food substance that is known as the endosperm for the developing embryo. So that endosperm provides nourishment. In some cases, in most of the monocots, endosperm persists, and so that is why the monocotyledonous seeds are also known as albuminous seeds. And in case of the dicots, if it is consumed, then the seed is said to be ex-albuminous. That was about the flower, morphological features. Thank you.